Hello everyone, Jean here with another kit video that I made. This is a memory wire bracelet kit, and there should be plenty of beads. I didn't go with a color pattern. I just found some cool beads and buttons and put them in there. In your kit, you have some lace, and you have some buttons and some beads and a couple of little charms. So I am not going to use the kit because I started me a sample with a different color set of beads just to make sure I knew what I was going to do and how I wanted it to turn out. So I'm going to continue working on that one, but it is no different. It's just a mix of beads. Okay, so this is my little tub of beads that I have, and they're all in turquoise color, browns, earthies, off-whites. Let me zoom in a little bit more for this. Excuse me. So here's my plan. You've got a pretty good sized piece of memory wire. This could make 2 bracelets if you wanted it to, and if you wanted to cut it, that would be cool. One thing I want to suggest, and if you've got good jewelry cutting wire pliers, do not use them on memory wire. It will ruin them just like that. So go get out of the junk drawer your dad, your hubby, your boyfriend's old wire cutters and cut with that. Please. You will thank me. So for this one, I haven't put a stopper on either end or bent my wire. One, I wasn't sure which direction I wanted to work from, so I kind of got everything stuck in the middle. And one thing you can do is you can go ahead and curve your end, and then you know that this, this is my end. If I do that, I'll have to slide it down there, but that would be my end. Or if you, want to add from both directions, all you got to do is grab a piece of tape and put a piece of tape on one end, or a clip. But I find that a clip, when I get to bouncing around, because this is pretty bouncy, it still sometimes will get knocked off, and then everything you strung comes off. So what's a little different about this kit is that there is some lace in it. These are just some tiny little scraps of fabric that I tied on there because I kind of like the look. And I've just done a mixture of beads, and I can pull this out so you can see it better. It's still going to curl, but it's a little bit straighter for you to see. And I have no pattern. I'm just stringing it. But I wanted to add a few beads and then add some lace so you could kind of get an idea of what my reason for the lace is. And don't be afraid of any of the beads. If they are, like this one is a top drilled teardrop, it's fine. There may be some that don't fit on the memory wire. That's okay too. But just keep your mind open on anything, because anything will work. So I'm just going to string on a few. Yeah, watching somebody string beads is like watching paint dry, right? Especially when the big old hands are in the way. Now this is a piece of turquoise, and it's not wanting to go on there. It could still break as I slide it around, but it doesn't seem to want to break. So now you can, if you've got enough beads, and you're going to have to hold this because this wants to curl up, and you could just sit here and pick up beads like this if you don't want to sit and put them on. And some will be a little more stubborn than others. And I'm not doing any kind of pattern because I can't do a pattern. It's just not in my personality. So I'm just going to keep stringing some beads. And you know something I did, not intentionally, it just kind of happened because they're in this mix, is I put on a few copper jump rings hit and miss. They are soldered jump rings, and they were just in this mix from another project. So I just kind of left them because I thought that was kind of cool to see that. I like weird stuff in my jewelry. So let's go ahead and put on a button now. I'm going to put on a shank button. And then I'm just going to add some more beads. Now some of these have a small enough hole they would probably work if I picked them up and tried to put them on there. But I'm just going to do this way so that you guys can kind of see what I'm picking up. Oh, I want one of these on there, so I'm going to have to pick it up because it's not going to go otherwise. So you put some beads on and you slide them down. And like I said, you can work from either end. And it kind of sometimes gets tangled, and that's okay because you don't have like yards and yards of it, so it's not going to be a difficult thing to undo. Just find one end and work it out. I promise it's not difficult. Ta-da! Just slide those down, and I think what I like to do now is when I want to put like the lace on it, I will let them get all snug up to each other and then just let it go. And this one piece of lace wants to spread out. How dare that lace spread out? There we go. So get them all. So if I put lace on it now, it's going to be in the same place as this lace. So I'm going to put a few more beads so that the lace is in a different place. And I think maybe it's time for a big one, or a bigger one. And these are glass pearls, and so sometimes their holes are a little troublesome. Not always, but sometimes. There's a drop bead. So let's kind of see where that would be. Well, see, now we're at the other piece of lace. So we're going to keep going until we get clear over to here. So another, 2 inches or so. So let's find some more fun beads. And remember, you can always add buttons. I like to shank button, but I love to add little pearly buttons. Now, you know this is a big deal. I'm breaking into some of my pearl buttons. I love mother of pearl buttons and vintage buttons. In fact, I kind of think they should be currency. I think they are that valuable to me. Other people will argue with me and tell me no, they're really not. And I've looked it up. They're not as valuable as I think they are. So I think I'm going to put on a couple little bitty buttons. And I'm going to put them on together because I like that look. And so now they're not buttons anymore. They're a bead. So we'll put a few more buttons on, or beads. We already got buttons. But I thought this would be a fun class. It doesn't take a lot of time. You can kind of play with it and make it what you want it to be and how you want it to be. And it's just fun. So I think just a couple more buttons and I can put some, man, I must be button brain today. A couple more pieces of lace. Okay. Boy, I'm tongue-tied. I'm going to put on a few more beads, and then I'm going to add some lace. I knew eventually if I kept talking, it'd have to come out right, because it was coming out wrong every other time. So, and like that, sometimes beads fall off. And it actually, the longer you give of this in memory wire, the space, the more apt they're to fall off. So if you keep it a short rein on it, it will pick them up much better. This is the kind of project that even if you're not into jewelry making, you can still make. And you could make, like I said, you could make 2 bracelets. You could make, out of your memory wire, cut it so that it's a full wrap and a half, and it would make a decent bracelet that would stay on pretty well too, unless you got really big wrists. And so that's something else you need to think about too. So I'm going to go ahead and put some lace on. And I know that, I guess I'm going to get my lace out of here because I thought I grabbed it and I didn't. So I'm just going to grab a little bit of lace. It doesn't matter how much, how big you want your little cluster to be. I'm just going to cut that much. And all I'm going to do for this is start, I always start in the little hole of the flower. You can see that little hole in the middle of the flower. You don't have to. It don't even have to be the same spot, because sometimes it don't want to be the same spot. This time it's working that way. So whatever works for you, wherever the wire will poke through. You know, if you put a bigger space, you're going to have a bigger loop. So be kind of consistent. It just kind of all fits together that way. So now I have a fun lace bead. Of course, when you first put it on there, it does not want to stay where it's supposed to. And after you get several beads on here, like this one, and they're kind of stuck in place, come in here and twist this around so they don't always lay perfectly straight, and pull on it and tug on it and get your lace a little frayy. It gives it that really vintage look. It's really cool. So you just keep putting on all of what you want on there. Now, if you're going to add a charm, make sure it's got a ring on it. Make sure it's either got a split ring or jump ring. Now, I'm a split ring girl because this keeps them on. They stay better. You can put it anywhere you want. Just make sure it has a ring on it, because if you don't put a ring on it, I'm going to thread this through just the loop of the charm. It doesn't, it's floating and moving, but it's going to end up being just sticking straight out when you get other beads and get it positioned into place. But when you put it through the ring and you position it into place, it's got a lot more movement. So that would be my biggest concern with that. So I'm going to put on a few more beads, and I'm going to show you how to close one end, which means that if I'm not done, I'm going to have to figure out which end is going to be closest to done. Okay, we're going to call that, let's put a little bit bigger bead in there because it just, we want it to stay well. So I'm going to put in one more pearl, maybe. These glass pearls are coated, and sometimes they don't want to go around. And sometimes you may have trouble sliding a bead at first. You can always grab yourself a pair of pliers. Any kind will do. If I could find a pair here. Hold your wire and then slide it. I knew it was just about ready. Just put on a couple more beads because I don't want the big bead on the very end. Okay, we're going to call that good. So this is going to be my end. Now, I would, because I have them, use the round nose pliers and bend this into a loop. And yes, it's going to be firm and it's going to be tight and it's going to be a little bit frustrating. You don't have to be a perfect circle on there. If you can't get a perfect circle, don't worry about it. Because you know why? You can always hang some dangles on it. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to show you with a pair of pliers that I went and got out of the toolbox. Just plain old pliers. Change the shape, or the distance on the locking. I'm just going to pinch a little bit and I'm going to bend it over. Now, because memory wire is so firm, and it is memory wire, I close my eyes while I'm doing this, even though I have on glasses, because I never want something to come back and snap me in the face. So now, if you can see, I've got that little triangle there. Now, if I wanted to, I could do another bend a ways down and make it a triangle, and that would be cool. Or I could take this and pinch it inside the pliers, and I'm going to put my finger up there and as I'm closing it to help it close and not just slide over, because I'm controlling the pliers and my finger and the wire, and it slowly is closing. And I'm being very careful not to pinch my fingers. I'm hoping you can see that. See, no pinchies. And I have just bent it down on itself. When you do that, you need to make sure, which I didn't make sure, that the last bead on there isn't going to fall off, which it did. But this one won't. And you could put a dot of glue on there if you wanted like a super glue or an E6000 to make sure it stays in place. But I couldn't pull it off, so I'm not concerned. It's going to stay. And there, it's got a nice finished end. I usually turn them into a circle, and I will go ahead and do that on this end just so that you can see. If you've got round nose pliers, you'll know how to do that. And then I can cut this off, and then I can show you how to cut it also. So we get two lessons here. So I'm going to use my round nose pliers. I'm going to make it a fairly large loop here, because if I get down to here and too tiny and as stiff as this wire is, it's going to misalign my pliers. So I'm going to come down here where it's a little thicker, and I'm just going to push on the wire and curve it around until it comes over. And I always make it go past meeting there because it's a memory wire, it's stiff, and it's going to want to come back on itself. And then just play with it until it's not got a snaggy on it. You just want to get that snaggy to be butted up against the wire. You don't want it poking at you. So there you go. There it is with just the loop on the end. Now, I don't have a huge wrist. I have a huge everything else. But I wear about an 8.5, because if something's too tight, I won't wear it. So I'm going to show you. I'm going to put this on and show you how it works. And of course, the beads are going to move. They're not secured in place. And we do have just a couple pieces of wraps of the wire. But there you go. And so, of course, you would want your laces squished up and all that. But that's kind of what it would look like. So to me, this is too snug. So I'm going to show you another thing that you can do that helps a lot. And this is a time thing. This is not something you can do right off the bat. It's not going to fix it immediately. We're going to use my water glass. And I'm going to, a soda can or something like that would work too, if that's the right diameter. I want this to stretch pretty good size. And all I'm going to do is just wrap it around here. Make sure it stays where I want it. And leave it. And it won't stretch out that far. But it will stretch out a little more. And the more you do it, the longer you leave it, the looser your bracelet can be. So I hope those of you that get this kit and play with it, enjoy it. I hope you make some fabulous art. And I do have the best intentions. And I think I might actually have the time even to make some more awesome jewelry kits. I have the beads. I have lots and lots of beads in my stash. And I kind of have gotten a little more interested in the beads. I'm not making a lot, just a little, because I don't have time for all of it. So a jewelry video or a jewelry kit is a big treat for me, because I don't have the time for all of what goes into that. So with that being said, enjoy the video, enjoy the kit, and love to see what you make out of it. Thanks for watching. Bye-bye.